Welcome, everyone. Today we will talk about what if appeasement never happened. Now, as a bit of historical context, appeasement was a policy started by the British and the French to avoid war with Germany for as long as possible. This was due to the anti war attitude in both Britain and France at the time, and due to both of their economies still reeling from the effects of the Great Depression. Historians argue whether this policy was stupid or not. However, it did give the Germans and the Allies time to prepare for the war. In our timeline, the Germans used appeasement to its full advantage, with the Nazis coming to power in 1933. The first thing that they did was increase the strength of the armed forces, and would eventually go on to annex the Saarland, remilitarize the Rhineland, Anschluss Austria, occupy Czechia, take Memel from Lithuania, invade Poland, kick-starting the Second World War. We will examine what would have happened if the Allies took a harsher tone to Germany's actions. I will try to make the video realistic, but in alternate history, we can never be sure if a certain event will change how we want. So, this is just pure speculation on my part. Now, before starting the scenario, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, as it would mean a lot for me and help me create more alternate history scenarios just like this. But without further ado, let's start the scenario. Our story begins in 1933. This was the year that the Nazi Party, under the funny mustache man, had come to power in Germany. They came to power promising three things: territorial expansion, military rejuvenation, and economic prosperity. To complete one of these goals, the Nazis would secretly try to increase the size of their army. The term set by the Treaty of Versailles stated that Germany can only have 100,000 soldiers, an extremely limited navy, and no air force. In our timeline, the Nazis secretly increased the size of their army until in 1936, when they revealed their new military. It consisted of 900,000 men, a strong navy, and an air force. The Allies caught up to Germany's plan in 1934, but did nothing. This time we will have the Allies tell Germany to stop their military buildup, or the Allies will act. They will place economic sanctions on Germany to get them to stop, and the Nazis will eventually stop. Germany would be able to have an air force and a navy, but it would be extremely limited, and they would be allowed to have an army of 200,000 men. This would make the Germans stronger, but it would be extremely small compared to countries like France, Poland, or Italy. Now, in 1935, a referendum was held in the Saarland on whether it should join Germany, France, or remain independent. This referendum was technically not breaking the Treaty of Versailles, so, like in our timeline, we will have the Nazis annex the Saarland after they vote to join Germany. This would boost the Nazi popularity. This would boost the popularity of the Nazi regime, who, riding on their success, would announce the remilitarization of the Rhineland. Now, if you're wondering why this would occur a year earlier, this, this is because in 1935, Marshal Pilsudski asked France if they should invade Germany together due to their massive rearmament. France said no, but here both Britain and France would oppose the remilitarization. French troops will be stationed on the German border, and both sides would be at a standoff. Just then, from the east, Poland would invade East Prussia and Silesia. After, after a few weeks of fighting, a conference will be held in London to create a peace treaty, with Italy acting as mediator between both sides. In the peace treaty, Germany would not remilitarize the Rhineland, and Poland would gain more authority over Danzig and some border regions from Germany. This defeat would further discredit the Nazi regime, who would have failed in two of their three goals. And without the massive military buildup, the German economic miracle is being called into question. Now, in 1936, the Olympics occurred in Germany, and over here we will have them occur as well. They were a massive propaganda event to boost the popularity of the Nazi regime, where black and Jewish athletes were not allowed to participate. In this event, Germany would try to push the idea of the Anschluss. The Austrian government, after this, would decide to seek protection from Italy. In our timeline, Mussolini eventually gave up on Austria in favor of annexing Ethiopia, but here they will stick with Austria and Germany would fund pro-Anschluss movements in Austria. This would start the Austrian Civil War. In our timeline, it lasted only for 4 hours, but here it will last a whole year, with Italy and Germany heavily funding their respective allies. At the same time, the Spanish Civil War would break out, in which Francisco Franco's nationalists would fight against the Republicans. Mussolini, like in our timeline, would heavily fund the nationalists in hopes of creating a new Italian ally. But this time, the Republicans keep the communists from power and receive aid from Britain and France. They would also receive aid from Germany, who would hope that this would weaken Italy, which would lead to their allies winning the Austrian Civil War. In the end, the Spanish Republic would win the Civil War in Spain, and in Austria, the pro-Anschluss forces would win. Both Germany and Italy would have spent billions on their respective sides. In Italy, this would result in an economic crisis, with Mussolini's popularity at an all-time low. He would be removed and arrested shortly thereafter, and would be replaced by the King Victor Emmanuel III, who would try to fix the crisis with a new government. In Germany, they would have spent a lot of money on the Austrian Civil War, leading to their economy being at an all-time low. In this time, Democrats, monarchists, and communists would gain more popularity, the last of which would be supported by the Soviet Union. Germany, in a bit of desperation, would announce the Anschluss with Austria. As soon as it happens, both Britain and France declare war on Germany, with Poland joining in. Germany, although fighting good, would be slowly overwhelmed by Poland in the east, France in the west, and a British blockade. Different revolts would soon break out against the Nazis, with Britain also making a landing in the north. Using this opportunity, the USSR invades Poland, with the Polish troops then moving east to combat the Red Threat. After 2 years of war, the communists would seize Berlin. They would burn the Reichstag, in turn killing Hitler, his inner circle, and other members of the Nazi Party. Germany would soon capitulate, and the Allies would occupy the nation while trying to set up a new democratic regime, dealing with the communists in the west and the Poles in dealing with the communist west. In the east, the Poles, with the help of the French and the British, managed to fight the USSR to a standstill. But by the end of 1939, both sides are exhausted, and the Allies and the Soviets would meet up to discuss peace. In the treaty, the USSR would gain parts of Poland. Poland would be compensated by receiving all of East Prussia and border areas with Germany. Lithuania would also receive Vilnius from former Polish territory. Austria would become independent, with its independence being guaranteed by both Britain and France. The Saarland would be annexed by France. This would eventually put a strain on Franco-British relations, as Britain would feel like France is acting in its own interests and threatening the balance of power. Germany would be restored under a democratic government, with Stalin eventually abandoning the German communists after taking what he wanted from Poland. The Soviets would then take Bessarabia from Romania. The members of the Little Entente, Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Yugoslavia would then welcome Poland and the Baltic states into the Little Entente so that they can better defend themselves against the specter of communism that now looms over Europe. Britain and France would be exhausted and might even start decolonization, but eventually at a later time. This will be the world after the end of our story. Now, that's where I'll end the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you think. And if you have any suggestions, please share them down below. And for now, goodbye.